Hello BookTube, I'm Jonathan, and today I have 5 hard sci-fi books for you that changed what I thought was possible in science fiction. So let's get started with one that's not too crazy, one that helped me start my hard sci-fi journey a few years ago, and that is 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. Millions of years ago, a mysterious monolith appears and wakens intelligence in a group of hominids. Millions of years later, in the year 1999, scientists on the moon discover an electromagnetic disturbance, which reveals another monolith. Where did it come from, and why is it there? For me, 2001 successfully combines an intriguing mystery and big ideas with hard science. Now, most of that science is around aspects of space travel and the associated technologies. So, for readers that are a little bit less interested in the science, those chapters might feel a tad dry, but personally, I found them to be incredibly rewarding, especially as a means of contrast. When Clarke provides hyper-detailed explanations of spacecraft technology, by comparison, I think that this makes the strange behavior of HAL 9000 or the mystery behind the monoliths all the more intriguing. And this attention to detail is present both in the book and the film directed by Stanley Kubrick. The screenplay and the book were written in conjunction with each other, and some editions of the book include a great introduction by Clarke, which detail the collaborative process with the unique character that is Kubrick. I think these two pieces of art work really well together, as the film provides some stunning visuals for some of the technical descriptions in the book. And the book, while it doesn't explain everything, does add a few more pieces of information in order for you to help make sense of the film. And in the end, I think this is a book that balances the science with the fiction, because for me, it culminated with a jaw-dropping ending. It was one that I had to sit and think about for a while, and then run straight to the laptop and type in 2001: A Space Odyssey ending explained. Because I had some theories of my own, but reading other people's reactions and theories and trying to piece them together with my own was a lot of fun and something that I just spent a lot of time thinking about, because this book just ultimately blew me away. So next up, we have a book that not as many people have read and was actually in part an inspiration for this video, because I just finished this one recently, and that is Ring by Stephen Baxter. Michael Poole tried looping a wormhole back on itself, tying a knot in space and ripping a hole in time. It worked. Too well. Poole was never seen again. Then from far in the future came an urgent message. The universe was doomed, but humankind was not. The universe had a door, and it was open. Stephen Baxter absolutely throws the kitchen sink at this book when it comes to sci-fi ideas. Whether it's wormholes, dark matter, cosmic strings, or time dilation, Baxter goes into an incredible amount of detail when he explores and explains all of these ideas. I feel like I learned more about stars reading this book than I did in any class at school. So does that mean this book feels like a textbook? Well, for me, no. I still think there was an amazing story here with some really cool speculative ideas. I think their book sets up some really interesting mysteries, and it's a fun adventure that we have along the way. I feel like the pacing was better in the first half of the book, but there's some pretty wild ideas in the second half. To give you an idea of how ambitious this book is, the story takes place over millions of years. There isn't a ton of character development in this book, but I feel like at least the main cast had some rather distinct personalities, and there's at least one character that I feel like I will remember for a rather long time. The dialogue in this book does rely a little bit on exposition. There are a fair amount of exchanges that go along the lines of, "Hey, do you know about this cool space thing? Yeah, kind of, it's sort of like this, right? Well, actually, insert massive info dump here." But none of that really bothered me because of how cool the ideas were. Some of the things in this book were honestly mind-boggling, and I just felt giddy like a little kid while I was reading them. And just quickly, this is book 4 of the Zeely sequence. It can be read as a standalone, which is what I did, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But just so you know, from the research that I've done, it seems like book 1 and book 3, Raft and Flux, are only somewhat connected to Ring, whereas book 2, Time Like Infinity, has a little bit more of a direct connection. So if you're a completionist, you can read all 4 in order. If you like, you can read Time Like Infinity and then Ring, or if you want to be like me, you can just jump straight into Ring. Alright, for our third book, I have another classic for you, and that is Dragon's Egg by Robert L. Forward. On a neutron star with a surface gravity 67 billion times that of Earth, a plant-like organism evolves into an intelligent species known as the Chela. While this species is evolving, human astronomers detect this neutron star and set out on an expedition to explore it. I would say that this book is for people that liked Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, but wanted less of those pesky human relationships and more hard science. Of the books on this list, I would say this is the one that did read most like a textbook. It even comes with an appendix full of graphs and diagrams. As a result, it's probably the story that I was the least emotionally invested in, but the ideas in this book are crazy. I've read quite a few sci-fi books in low-gravity environments or high-gravity environments that are slightly different from Earth, but writing a story about life evolving in an environment where the gravity is 67 billion times stronger than that of Earth is honestly just insane. And despite some criticisms of the storytelling and the characters, I did really enjoy the ending of this book. It takes all of the ambitious ideas and then combines them to create a conclusion that I thought to be rather philosophically thought-provoking. And so for our fourth book, we're going to move away from some of the space adventures and move on over to some cyberpunk with Permutation City by Greg Egan. Permutation City is the story of a man with a vision. Immortality, for those who can afford it, is found in cyberspace. Encompassing the lives and struggles of an artificial life junkie desperate to save her dying mother, a billionaire banker scarred by a terrible crime, and lovers for whom, in their virtual world, love is not enough. Permutation City is a cyberpunk novel that focuses more on the cyber than on the punk. The sciences that this book revolves around are computer science, biochemistry, and physics. And all three of those are used to explore whether consciousness can be produced by computers. Permutation City is set around the year 2050, where virtual copies of people already exist, but one man sets out to create a virtual world that would allow for life to evolve, immortality to exist, and would change our assumptions about the universe. I will say there were a few passages in this book where the science went a little bit over my head, but for the most part, I think Egan did a really great job of using the science in order to create a fully fleshed out world with high stakes. And that set up some jaw-dropping reveals in this book. I'm talking M. Night, I see dead people, this book is crazy type moments. And the science not only guided an entertaining story, but also posed some fascinating questions to the reader. Some of the concepts in this book just absolutely blew me away. I don't think I've spent as much time researching a scientific theory after having finished a book as I did after having finished Permutation City. This was one of my favorite reads of last year, and I hope you love it too. And to wrap us up, you can't talk about hard sci-fi without talking about The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. Set against the backdrop of the Chinese Cultural Revolution, strange things start happening to prominent scientists. And this could be linked to a mysterious mission that is sending messages out into space. This is book 1 of the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, and this book is crazy. Book 2 is even crazier, and somehow book 3 is even crazier than that. To keep this video spoiler-free, I am going to focus on book 1, The Three-Body Problem, but I highly recommend the entire series. There are many scientific ideas explored in this book, but the main one is the three-body problem. When you have two bodies of gravitational mass, it is fairly easy to calculate their subsequent motion. However, when you have 3 or more bodies, it starts to become infinitely more complex. There are too many variables for this to be calculated with a simple formula. Now, this might sound like an intellectual exercise, but Cixin Liu very cleverly uses this idea in order to drive a very interesting narrative. And this book also manages to combine physics with philosophy. This book is set against the cultural backdrop of the Chinese Revolution, and one of the main themes of the book is exploring the role that science plays, or should play, in society. And I think this was encapsulated in the great quote, "Should philosophy guide experiments, or should experiments guide philosophy?" If you are looking for a series that will melt your brain, it is hard to go past the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. So those are 5 hard sci-fi books to check out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on any of those 5, and let me know any other hard sci-fi books you think I should check out. I recently picked up The Quantum Thief by Hannu Ryanemi, and I've been told that kind of pushes the threshold of hard sci-fi, so I'm looking forward to that one. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to subscribe, and if you really enjoyed it, feel free to check out my Patreon memberships, where you can become one of my robots, androids, or cyborgs like Nima and the New Eden. And you can check out more sci-fi content over here.